So with all the buzz that's been started to create with the Lifestyle Rebellion movement's public launch, I get a lot of questions about a core principle we believe in, a living wage. So what is a living wage? There's multiple definitions. There's the world's definition, which is the minimum standard of living. So the minimum amount of money you need in order to live and survive. So we're talking roof over your head no matter how poor it is. Minimal amount of food for you not to die from malnutrition. And that's it. That is a living wage. And there are a few governments around the world that are testing this out. Testing just giving citizens a living wage by right to see if it encourages them to reduce their stress levels, reduce their time spent on acquiring those basic necessities, so they can then create an event and be more, spend time educating themselves, spend time creating companies. And so far, the tests have proven atrocious. They're not performing very well. So why are we using this as the core principle of all the Lifestyle Rebellion movement? Well, it's because it's not a handout. When something's a handout, unless you're a one percenter, which by nature of being a one percenter, it's 1% of all people. Unless you're a one percenter, you don't continue to work harder. If you get a handout and it's everything that you need in life, well, why should you work? There's no reason to. You just become relaxing and lazy, not by your own fault, just by nature of cause and effect. So we use a different definition. The Lifestyle Rebellion definition is whatever your current standard of living is, whether it be $5 grand a month in order to maintain your home, your cars, your travel, your kids' education, your hobbies. It could be 5, it could be 2 grand a month, it could be 10 grand, it could be 20, it could be 30, it could be 40 grand a month. Whatever that standard is, we maintain it. So you take that number, and then over time, for most members, within 2 years, you slowly replace this living wage, this standard of living, with a living wage. You replace it by using proprietary income-producing strategies to create a permanent residual income in place of what you're doing now. So in other words, the current system for creating income is failing miserably. Half of all Americans are paycheck to paycheck. What this means is if they missed one payday, they would then be missing payments. They would be broke. They have nothing in their bank, in savings, in retirement, nothing they could pull from anywhere. They are literally paycheck to paycheck. The current strategy is you spend 40 to 50, for some people 60 or 70, hours a week working. You spend 10 to 20 hours a week commuting just to get by and sustain yourself. Because again, half are only paycheck to paycheck, so you're working for these necessities. Let alone, there are other things you have to do in life, like groceries, like paying bills, sending and receiving mail, dishes, laundry. These are required activities that you don't have time for. And if you don't have time for your required activities, you may want to rethink how you're spending your most valuable asset, which is your time. You work through your peak physical and psychological years, so you are working your hardest, wherein having no time for yourself to create or achieve or do anything that you were meant to do for 40 to 50 years. You're talking about age 20 to age 50, 60, or 70 is the actual retirement age for most people now. That's 50 years. That's a huge chunk of your life. The prime years of your life that you're just not achieving or doing anything. And you control your time at the lowest quality of your life. So you don't control it in your teenage years. You're under the control of your parents and the government. You're required to go to school. You're required to do these other things. And you don't control it through your working years. You're a slave to a manager or a boss. Or if you own your own business, a lot of time you're a slave to that business. And you finally control your time at 60, 65, 70, when many people, the percentages are kind of sad, many people are already dead by then. And those who do live, their standard of living is nowhere near where it used to be. Not just from an income standpoint, from a psychological and physical standpoint. And this is the current system. But there's a better system. If you have a living wage, you have no concern about living paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter. You have a set amount coming in constantly, whether you work or not. So it doesn't matter if you spend everything you make. Guess what? It's still coming in, including through retirement. You also spend your time as you want, when you want, and where you want. If you want to work and grow your income, grow your living wage for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 50 hours a week, you can. You can just keep on building and growing it to increase your standard of living. If you would rather just spend a year and travel the world with your whole entire family, take a gap year, you can do that too. If you want to binge HBO and Netflix for a year, You can do that too. It's your time to do with as you want. And that's the key to a living wage, is you have this flexibility that most people take and create something bigger and better with. You also live your life through your peak years. So you're not spending all your time working. You have to spend some time to create a living wage and to maintain it. But you're not spending all of your time working. Through your peak years, you can go on that trip. You can create that startup. You can innovate. You can be all that you were meant to be throughout the years that you have the energy, time, and physical capacity and mental capacity to do it. And last but not least, you control your time throughout your life, drastically extending your quality of life. There are many studies that point to the massive reduction by years on the tail end of your life based on how much you work throughout these growth years of 20 to 60 to 70. So if you're working over 50 hours a week throughout these years, there are many averages out there that state that you may be taking off as many as 7 and upwards of 10 to 15 years off of your length of your life. This is a very depressing state. You don't want to do that. This sucks. Why would you want to take 7, 10, 15 years off your life? This is a bad strategy. That's worth a fortune. That time is precious. And at the tail end of your life, that time is worth everything you have. So, you need to employ a different strategy. And that strategy for most of us is lifestyle rebellion movement. It doesn't have to be for you. You just need to find some sort of side hustle, startup, or some sort of secondary income that you can create and build throughout these peak years when you have the energy, time, and influence to do so that when it comes time for you to retire, you can do so off of a living wage. Or hopefully, you can retire immediately after creating that living wage, something that doesn't chain you to a desk. Good luck in finding it for yourself, or you can always check out the Lifestyle Rebellion.